Are you a social chameleon? Do you tend to change who you are being depending upon who you're around or what you are doing? Do you just alter yourself to try to fit in to certain situations so you get along better with people? If you tend to do this, then you probably have a weak sense of self. Another clue you have a weak sense of self is if you get triggered quite easily by other people's opinions. Someone might disagree with you or have a different opinion. And just the mere disagreement with someone's opinion triggers you tremendously. And I think we see this a lot now. People don't really know who they are, and it creates a lot of problems for them. So what I wanted to do in this video is help you understand how to develop a stronger sense of self. Especially in social situations, you are inherently always the same person at your core. Yeah, when you're at work, you might act a little bit differently than you would like compared to when you're with your friends on a Friday night. But essentially at your core, you feel like you're the same person. And you don't feel like you need to change yourself to fit in or anything like that. Or if someone has a difference of opinion than you, you know yourself well enough to not be shaken by that. You know yourself well enough that you have this stability within yourself that other people's opinions don't offend you that much. Okay, you can still disagree with them without being offended. So the first thing I want to talk about is the spiritual path and how the spiritual path can sometimes make people develop a weak sense of self. And this is a kind of a trap that I fell down. So a lot of spirituality, non-duality that I talk about can often tell you and share ideas like you are not your mind, you are not your body, you don't even exist as a human being, okay? And there's truth to that. At the same time, a lot of people just tend to take these on as psychological beliefs. But when you take it on as a psychological belief, it's not the same as having the experience. So you might just go around regurgitating these things that you've heard, that I am not my mind, I am not my body, I am consciousness, I'm awareness, and all of these kinds of ideas. But it's not grounded in anything. It's just things you've heard. And when you do that, it weakens your sense of self, which makes you, like I said, more susceptible to changing, trying to fit in, because you don't have a self. Do you see what I mean? On the opposite side, I would suggest spiritual development goes hand in hand with emotional and psychological development, like mind, body, spirit. They all work together. If you're growing spiritually, but you're not evolving mentally and emotionally, then I don't think much of your spiritual development, okay? You should be growing holistically. You should be maturing as an adult. The more you go on the spiritual path. And therefore, you will understand the foundation of yourself as awareness, as consciousness. That will be your knowing, not a belief, but you will know it. You will have experienced that. You will experience it. Then that becomes the foundation of who you are. And because that's the foundation of who you are, that's what you begin to rely on. That's what you connect to everywhere you go, right? There's some stability there because you know that I am consciousness. And when you befriend that, it grounds you. Therefore, everywhere you go and everything that you do, you have the same sense of self. However, there's another extra element to this, which is you are also an individual. You are also unique and different from every single other person. So what I'm essentially saying is that you are consciousness, which is the same as everybody else, right? Everyone has the same source. Everyone is inherently the same at their core. At the same time, you are unique and different. So it doesn't make rational sense. What are you? Are you the same as everybody else or are you unique? It doesn't make sense, does it? Well, unfortunately, spirituality does not make sense all of the time. And the best analogy I have for this, which you've probably heard before, it's quite a popular one, is like waves of the ocean. Everyone is the ocean. At the same time, everyone is a wave. a unique wave moving within the ocean. That's how each of us are. We're all connected to this ocean, to consciousness, but we're also unique at the same time. And when you understand both and you own both, that's what will help you develop a stronger sense of self. Like I said, you need to have the deeper understanding of the ocean, of knowing my source is the same as everybody else's. That gives you a solid, unshakable foundation. Therefore, everywhere you go, you're inherently the same person. And generally, people who have a weak sense of self will try to find a self in attachments. They'll try to find their self in outside objects or relationships. For example, they might try to attach to how much money they make, or how attractive they are, or what sort of car they drive, or how they dress, or how attractive their partner is, or being a parent, or whatever. These are the sorts of things that people attach their identity to when they have a weak sense of self, when they don't know who they are. And so spiritual work is about releasing them attachments to them external things and finding the ground of who you are, because the problem with the external things is they're all transitory. They are not permanent. It doesn't matter how rich you are, you could lose your money tomorrow. It doesn't matter how beautiful you are, you can lose your looks. You're going to age. You are eventually going to lose them. Even if you have a certain role, you attach to the idea of being a husband or a father, your kids are going to grow up. Your wife might divorce you. Do you see what I mean? So these things, they can be enjoyable in life, and I think it's good to have them, but don't place your value and identity on the outside world, because eventually you're going to lose it. And when that happens, it's going to be painful. Rather, put your identity on something that never changes, something that is always with you. And that's why I draw your attention to your true self, because it's always been there for you. It will always be there for you. You can never lose it. So wouldn't you rather base your sense of self on that? And can you see, when your sense of self is based on that, just how strong that makes you compared to someone who places all their value on how much money they make? You will automatically have a more powerful self than they will. Because without the money, that person would feel worthless. When you put your worth, when you know who you truly are, it doesn't matter what's taken away from you. You don't essentially lose anything. And that's the power of knowing who you are. And then you can allow your uniqueness to shine through. Your uniqueness will come from things like your passions, your values, your own opinions that you have formed through education and learning, your heart, all these different elements we learn about ourselves, and then expressing who you are unapologetically. But always knowing that you are connected to the ocean, right? You're connected to this consciousness and relying on that. The way a lot of people go through life, especially social chameleons, they're always like changing, trying to fit in. I hate that word, fit in. I used to do this a lot. That's why I probably don't like it. Fitting in means you're not trying to be yourself. You're not trying to be authentic. You're just trying to like be accepted. And being accepted is a deep need. I'm not dismissing that. But we don't need to try to fit in all the time to be accepted. What you don't understand is that if you were just authentically yourself, if you were the ocean and the wave at the same time, that would welcome much more acceptance from people. It's hard to ignore someone or dismiss someone who is truly authentic, because there's a power to that authenticity, right? And it's them people who are the most magnetic and usually the most confident and the ones that usually tend to live the happiest lives. However, the social chameleon, bringing it back to this point, will usually feel like an object. They're quite self-conscious. They're very worried about how they are being perceived. So there's an idea I learned about this, and the self-conscious person, the social chameleon, will feel themselves to be like a object. So I'm always worried about how other people are seeing me. I'm always concerned about how I can fit in and get along with people. So you're not seeing yourself as a human, you're seeing yourself as an object almost. How are other people seeing me? And depending upon that, how can I change so they like me or accept me? as you can see right there, that is not a healthy way to go through life. The opposite of that is to live your life as though you are the subject of your experience. So when you're the object, you're almost living outside of yourself. And it's like, how are people seeing me? When you are the subject, it's like you are looking out at the world. You are forming your own opinions. You are seeing other people and trying to see, rather than how can I fit in, how can I form a connection with this person? A real connection. And I'm not saying you become completely self-absorbed, because that would become narcissism, but you're always conscious and aware of other people, but more of you is within. You are more of the subject. You are forming your own opinions. You are, like I said, trying to form connections, thinking about what you want, thinking about how can you can get your needs met and what are your values, and finding a way to express them respectfully to other people, not like taking advantage of people or, like I said, being narcissistic or anything like that, but no, truly expressing who you are authentically. But in order to do that, you first of all need to stop being this self-conscious person. One of the best ways you can do that is to find out who you are at your core. Like I said, you are the ocean, you are consciousness, the same source as everybody else. And when you find that, when you find the space of that and realize that is your foundation, you develop a loyalty to it, okay? You develop a loyalty to your true self. And that's the problem with people who are social chameleons. They don't have any loyalty to themselves, so they'll happily disown themselves or abandon themselves to fit in or get along with people. But when you find out who you truly are and your own uniqueness, and you develop a loyalty to that, then it's easier to stand up for yourself. It's easier to stick up for what you believe is right. It's easy for you to voice your opinions because you know who you are. You have found the ground of your being and it supports you, right? The social chameleon has no internal support. Hence the reason they're always changing how they are being. The person who knows themselves is grounded on something secure, right? And even when difficult things come to them, they have more stability. They're able to deal with them better. Emotions, for example, they're able to deal with uncomfortable emotions better, right? Because they've got this solid ground. In fact, I would say knowing yourself as consciousness is the ultimate emotional skill, right? Because when you understand that, you see that emotions, other people's opinions, they can just pass through you almost. They don't affect you as much. Obviously, you can still respond. Obviously, you can still be who you are and express your truth. But you become a much more powerful, unshakable person, right? And so that's what I want for you. And so the exercises I would suggest is just pay attention when, or if you're in situations and you find yourself kind of sacrificing or abandoning yourself or trying to fit in. Stop trying to fit in and just see how you do it and pay attention to it and maybe even question it and meditate on it. Slowly you'll begin to unravel it. You'll probably find there's a lot of childhood wounds there was for me. Feelings of not belonging, feelings of not being accepted or respected, and therefore you're always seeking these basic needs in adulthood, right? That's what you're looking for. That's why you act like this, because there's unmet needs. Okay, and when you get them needs met, that's going to help you come back to the source, the ground of who you are, because that's how you find yourself, is when you have healed the childhood stuff, right? Hence the reason you've got to find out why you act like this, heal that, then you'll connect and find the ground, the foundation of you. Like I said, when you find that, it's okay. Like, you're essentially the same person no matter where you go. That's authentic. That is real. You're not always changing to fit in. Okay, so I hope this video helps some of you out. If it did and you'd like to watch more things like this, check out these videos right here. But until next time, God bless.